Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Holistic Pharmacy Podcast. I have an awesome guest for you who I've known for quite some time. Her name is Rene Jahnke, and she's a pharmacist turned holistic practitioner. She worked as a pharmacist and pharmacy manager for 26 years, and she was burning the candle at both ends, taking care of everyone else except herself. And it really took a toll on her mental and physical health. So she decided to follow her passion for holistic health and took several holistic health courses and online courses, learning and finding her way to what she wanted her career 2.0 to be. So next, she completed the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner Certification course, and that was back in 2023. And she took the opportunity to work for FDN as the course administrator starting in May of last year. And she loves helping students going through the course, cheering them on, helping them course correct, seeing them grow, and supporting them. She also started her business, Wellness RX Integrative Health, and she's mostly helping women in their 40s and 50s balance their hormones, heal their gut, and take control of their health for good. She focuses on sharing her story with women so they can see that we can have the best of both worlds, a happy and healthy life, and a successful business or career. So without further ado, welcome Renee to the show.
Hi, thank you, Marina. It's so nice to be here with you. It's an honor.
Yes, likewise. We've known each other for quite some time. Back when I was starting to mentor other professionals, you were one of the first people who actually asked me for that service. And now I'm just so proud to witness your growth and what you're doing and sharing online about your journey and all the different certifications that you have going for you. So I'd love to kind of get into all that. But before we do, I would love to ask you what I ask everybody on the show, which is really how you grew up, how you came to be a pharmacist in the first place.
Sure. So I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, born and raised there. I went to pharmacy school in northern Louisiana, and um, I always wanted to be, since I was in second grade, I always wanted to be in the medical profession. I remember doing a project in second grade, and it was all about what you wanted to do when you grew up. And at that time, I wanted to be a nurse. My great grandmother was a nurse, and I just thought that that was the coolest thing when she would share some of the stories of her, how she loved taking care of patients. And then when I got to high school, I remember thinking, oh, wow, I don't want to just be a nurse. I could be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. And the high school I went to, I was really fortunate that they had, it was called a health occupations program that we could take as part of our classes to get more introduced to the medical field. And so then I go off to college. In my first semester in college, and I'm in pre-med, I was like, wait a minute, I want to have a life and a family. Let me look at the course curriculum again. And I found pharmacy, and luckily the school that I was going to was one of two pharmacy schools in Louisiana. And so at my first semester, I decided to switch to pre-pharm so that I could have a life and still learn and do the things that I really enjoyed doing. So I graduated from pharmacy school. I'm not going to say what year, I'm not going to date myself. But I remember my last semester at pharmacy school, someone coming into our class and saying, hey, we have this new PharmD program, and if you guys want to stay and take another year of school, you could be a PharmD. And at the time I was like, why in the world would I want to do that? Like I want to get out in the world and start working and start using what I've learned. So anyway, I didn't do that. I'm one of the pharmacists that graduated with the bachelor's, um, and went out into the world and started working. My first job was as a hospital pharmacist in Texas, which I really enjoyed. And I ended up going back to school and doing a non-traditional PharmD program like 8 years after that. So it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword because a degree definitely is a useful thing to have. But a second degree, right? It's like, how useful is that going to be? You just don't really know. Or like a residency or a fellowship after you get your degree, or, like a step up. And experience is really what we want, right? And the benefit of like some additional degree is they qualify you to say you've had, these kind of experiences. And the PharmD is kind of like that. It's more like experiential and clinical based and like different settings based that you're getting like the hours in of experience, which if you go out into the world and you work, you will also likely get that experience, but it may not be as diverse because we tend to kind of get stuck in like one path. Like if you start retail, you'll likely just stay in retail, or that's kind of the stigma with it, that it's kind of hard to get out because the money is pretty good. And then if you start in other places, you might have to take a pay cut or go from an internship or doing things that are not so convenient in order to keep growing in other fields outside of retail. So,
Mhm.
I think it's a hard thing for us to gauge. And when a degree is so new, it's also hard to see like what is the benefit of it. So I'm curious, like what got you to take the step and take that the official PharmD degree afterwards.
So at the time, there was all this discussion from no longer offering a bachelor's in pharmacy degree any longer, and it would just be a PharmD. And there was also a lot of unknown, like, would we be grandfathered in? What would happen to us? Would we have the same opportunities? And it was really, there were all sorts of answers, like, yes, of course you'll be grandfathered in, and no one could really answer the question of would we have the same opportunities. And so that, in the back of my mind, that worried me a little bit because I still had like a lot of career left. I still was young. And I found this non-traditional PharmD program through CU, University of Colorado, which ironically, I live in Colorado now. But I didn't at the time, and there was no requirement to. So I decided, like, I'm gonna go after this and get this degree and ensure that I have opportunities within my career, because I had intended to be working as a pharmacist for, 40 plus years, 50 years. So anyway, I did do that. I was very fortunate that I was able to still work for full time, and do my courses on the side. It took me 4.5 years, which was about normal at the time, for the non-traditional program. And to your point, like I didn't have to do some of the rotations because of the experience I was getting working as a pharmacist already. It was a really great learning opportunity. I learned so much more clinical things in the non-traditional program that weren't available to us in the bachelor's program that I had taken years prior. And I do think that it helped me open up more doors for me. I was lucky enough to get into management, which I really, really enjoyed, supporting teams, helping them with training, helping them with workflow efficiencies. So it definitely was worthwhile, and I enjoyed what I did for the majority of my career.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I'm curious, outside of that role, the managerial position that you mentioned, what were some of your niches or service areas that you had performed as a pharmacist or PharmD? And then how did you decide to transition out of that into the more holistic field?
So I was, after getting my PharmD, I was working for a company called Kaiser Permanente. It's really big here in Colorado. It's also big in California, um, which at the time was like an HMO. So not only did you have like physicians, pharmacy, lab, radiology all under one roof, Kaiser, we were also the insurance provider. Um, so my niche was outpatient pharmacies, but I was really proud of the fact that we were different than other pharmacies like Walgreens, your grocery store pharmacies at the time, because we really focused on quality patient care. Everything that Kaiser did was evidence-based driven. And we also in the pharmacy really focused on customer service. That was like the number one priority. And that really resonated with me. I love caring for people, and I also love giving them top-notch service and kind of knocking their socks off, so that people leave you going, wow, they're great. I'm definitely going to come back here. So customer service was a big deal, training teams, lifting them up, cheering them on so that they enjoyed coming to work every day like I did. That's what I really enjoyed and was proud of. So, fast forward about like the last, I would say, 1 to 2 years of my career, things really shifted, and our focus shifted as well. It went away from quality service, great customer service. That was still expected, but the top priority was get the prescriptions filled as fast as possible, get your teams to work faster. And I really struggled with that because it kind of felt like we were like a fast food chain, and I didn't like that. I definitely, empathize and understand that people do not want to wait, especially when you're not feeling well, or maybe you got a diagnosis that you're not happy with, or you're shocked about. I definitely understand the not wanting to wait, but there's safety that's an issue, and there's people involved. So things just kind of snowballed, and I wasn't enjoying what I was doing anymore. I started like on Sundays dreading that I had to go to work the next day. And when that started happening, I was like, wow, you really need to take a look at this. This is not okay. Because that had never happened to me before. I always enjoyed going to work. So it took me a while. It took me about a year to finally decide, yes, I'm going to walk away from this career, which was really difficult. I was paid very well. Um, and part of me was like, wow, you're just going to walk away from all this training and education that you've had. But as you said in the beginning, it really was taking a toll on me, my health, my mental health and my physical health. I was coming home just like exhausted and not wanting to do anything, or like be with my family. I had gotten short-tempered. And at the time, my son was about 10, something like that. And I thought, wow, what a role model you're showing him. Go to work hard, work long hours, come home exhausted, and not be in a state of mind where you want to enjoy being with your family. So, and I also felt a little bit like a hypocrite, because I thought there is no way I would take these medications that my teams are dispensing. There are things that we can do to prevent needing to take the majority of these things. So I ultimately, with my husband's support, I did resign and left my career. It was very scary because I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. So I basically left a really nice paycheck, to then go figure out what it was I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow, yeah, that's a huge step and certainly sounds scary when you don't really have a plan and you just kind of say, enough is enough and you sort of quit cold turkey. And I think that those are the two kind of main ways that I've seen people that are realizing, becoming aware that, okay, they're not enjoying their career. And like you said, it's so important to be aligned and enjoy it because we are at work for 8+ hours a day. It's more time than we spend at home with our family because hopefully we're sleeping, 8 hours. So it's a good
Mhm.
portion of our day, our waking time. And then to just not be fulfilled during that time, and having it be justified by a paycheck, at what point is the paycheck not worth it anymore, right? And different people have different needs and decisions that they're able to do from that calculation. But like, what is our time and energy worth, right? And that's kind of the decision that people have to make for themselves. And so the two approaches that I see is, if somebody's not happy where they are, it's either like finding ways to keep yourself happy, finding things you can do within your current situation so you can keep receiving the paycheck, and at least, having a better attitude and mindset in some way. And then working maybe on something else on the side, like you did your PharmD on the side of your full-time job, which is also difficult, and to split your time, especially if you already have a family, and like go do and get extra trainings, or have like a side gig or things like that. And the second way is just to completely, like, say no, enough is enough, and then just start a brand new clean page, so to speak, and start anew. And so each of those has its pros and cons. But I love that, you just kind of drew a line in the sand and said, this is my turning point, and I'm not gonna, accept this way of existing anymore.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I took the time to, my local community college has an integrative health program. So I took some classes just to dip my toe in the water and find out about this whole realm of integrative health and holistic health, and learned a lot of things. I took a reflexology class just for fun as an elective and ended up loving it. So I do have a certification as a reflexologist and do that still. I found a course online to learn about herbs, which was really fascinating, with the pharmacy background, very fascinating. And then finally in 2023, I found functional diagnostic nutrition, which is an online certification course to be a practitioner. And the reason that I chose that program and it really resonated with me is because, along with lifestyle and nutrition changes, learning about how to support people holistically with those things in mind, it also taught about functional lab testing, which just got me really excited. Like, as you know, as a pharmacist, like, data is just really cool. And to me, getting data about the human body was just like a phenomenal partner to go along with lifestyle and nutrition. So I really love it. The functional lab testing that I'm trained in, it really does like kind of pull back the curtain and shows the healing opportunities in the body so that you can really focus in and tailor on a plan for a client, instead of just listening to symptoms and guessing like how you might be able to help with that symptom. So it's really cool and I love it. I was my first client because of all of the stress that I went through for a number of years with my career. I was kind of a mess. Like I'm 4 years now into my healing journey, and am feeling just phenomenal. But at the time, even, in 2023, the beginning of 2023, I still was dealing with so much, not sleeping well. My hair was falling out. I found out I had insulin resistance, I had leaky gut, my adrenal glands were exhausted. Like the list was just huge, and I was thinking, wow, I don't have all the stress in my life that I had. I'm literally a hot mess going on. But when I got to do the functional lab tests on myself and get my own results and pull back the curtain on my own healing opportunities, it was a total game changer. So now, as I said, I am still on my healing journey, but all those symptoms that I was having, they are all gone, are really darn close to being gone. So it's been a really cool journey for me personally, and then now professionally to support other people with healing their bodies holistically as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that as well. And I think that's why many people seek out alternative and complementary, as we call them, modalities, is because when we don't have all the answers in conventional medicine, or if our personal philosophies don't align with the pharmaceutical approach, which has become synonymous with conventional medicine, right? Just a pill for every ill. Like you said, you were feeling guilty, and I did as well, going and dispensing, 20, 30 meds for a person when, as a pharmacist, we know we can like downscale, right? And just remove and eliminate a lot of that. And we were taught as pharmacists too the non-pharmacological approaches, but what we see is that they're taking a back seat to pharma.
Mhm.
They're kind of like there in the background, but insurance models don't really pay as much for counseling and lifestyle and dietary or like health coaching kind of services. I think that's all changing now, which I'm really excited about. But really, it's a more like it used to be just kind of like a reimbursement model of just dispensing medications and going to the doctor for a very brief amount of time to get your diagnosis and get your prescription. And we're seeing that although it sounds nice and easy to pop a pill, there's a lot of consequences that come along with that. And nobody better to know those consequences than a pharmacist, which is why I see a whole movement of pharmacists trying to do better for their patients. And we can start that by modeling, like you said, just like we model to our children. And I always say, they do as we do, not as we say. That's the modeling. It's they don't, listen to what you tell them. They actually like look at what you do and then they model
Mhm.
that. So when we are the model for our patients, when we actually take care of ourselves, which is also not set up in the healthcare system where our medical students are getting burned out, our doctors are getting burned out, every part of the healthcare team is expected to do more than they're capable of and not take care of themselves, right? That's got to shift because we have to be those models. And again, often it is our personal journeys with ourselves or our loved ones that gets us to seek out these different solutions. We're not just kind of like trying to, usually most of us just go outside the grain for no reason. There's a reason we're stepping out and looking for these other opportunities.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm curious from your journey, what have you learned? Like, what's the most profound tool that you now have in your toolkit, and how do you work with women now?
Um, I think for me, what sets me apart from other health coaches is the functional lab testing, because we all do. When you are in the holistic or alternative health field and are trained in lifestyle and nutrition, supporting and coaching clients with lifestyle and nutrition changes, we all like are very similar in approaches to that, right? There's some nuances and some people that are experts in certain areas, but overall, it's we all bring pretty much the same thing to the table. So I do feel like it's the functional lab testing, being able to get this information from about a client that you just can't get. Like even if they have lab work from their medical doctor, it's totally different than that. So I think that's like the secret weapon, if you will, so that someone's lifestyle and nutrition plan can truly be tailored to the healing that their body wants and needs. Our bodies are meant to heal themselves. So if we just give it the support, the nutrition, the care that it needs, and kind of get out of the way, our bodies will seek the balance and harmony that it needs to thrive. And so that's what I love to do with the training that I have now.
Yeah, I love that. So One thing that I would be curious about your practice is your philosophy on the supportive and the healing environment that and a sustainable way that we want to create for our clients. So, when we were trying to get away from the conventional pill for every ill model, right? Sometimes we run into the problem of, well, now we recommend natural supplements, and that's also sometimes in pill form. And that's why I really love incorporating whole foods and whole herbs personally, for people. So, how do you approach this topic of like, well, how do you make the healing accessible and sustainable for people that they're not just feeling like they're going from one pill burden to another pill burden?
Yes, absolutely. So people can definitely go overboard in the supplement area. And I think it's important to be cognizant of what's really realistic um, in regards to having supplementation for someone to take. I do not recommend supplements on clients who do not do the lab testing with me. I know that there are some practitioners out there, holistic practitioners, that based on the client's symptomology, they will recommend supplements, and that to me feels like what is happening in the Western medicine world, and so I don't do that. I only recommend supplements after I have data from functional lab testing, and it's to support their body along with all the other important things that have to happen, like nutrition, movement, exercise, quality sleep. You've already brought that up. Like, we all need quality sleep. That's where our bodies do a lot of restorative work. And even if you're doing all the other areas right and you're not getting quality sleep, you're not going to get the results you want. And stress management, that's the other area. So supplementation is not any more important to me than those other four areas, and someone has to be on board with doing all of that stuff, and then we can add supplementation in. As far as number of supplements, I would say that it just varies per client. And I have worked with clients that they were like, I really don't want to take any supplements. So even though we found out this great information about what's going on in my body, I just want you to tailor my lifestyle and nutrition to healing my body for what it needs. And that's absolutely what we did. And it just took a little bit longer without the support of some supplements, but still very effective, very effective.
Love it. So, can you walk us through your process? Maybe if you have like a signature process or program that you've developed. So, when a client comes to you, first of all, what kind of clients should come to you? And then, secondly, how do you work with them to either prioritize the areas that you mentioned and then custom tailor their healing journey?
Sure. So the principles of FDN, which is the practitioner, holistic practitioner that I am, are really based on supporting the body as a whole. So we don't focus on disease states, and we don't treat. So basically, anybody who is motivated to make changes in their lifestyle and their nutrition and truly wanting to heal their body, that's the client that I can support. The majority of clients that I have helped are women, and more women in their 40s and 50s. That's the age range that I'm in. So we see, we attract what we are. So that would be my clientele. And again, like highly motivated to take control of their own health. So maybe they've noticed changes in their body or additional symptoms that they weren't having. They may have even gone to their doctor and had lab work done only to be told everything looks normal, or even better, our bodies change as we age. And it doesn't have to be that way. Yes, our bodies do change as we age, but you don't have to decrease your quality of life because of that. If things are changing in your body and symptoms are surfacing, that's your body's cry for help. And it needs some attention. It needs your attention. So the functional lab testing helps to identify the root cause of what's going on and what needs like some love and care. So I start with that when a client, when I talk to a client and hear what their main health goals are, also get a feel for how motivated they are to make the changes because, you know, I can make a plan and I can cheerlead all day long, but if someone isn't willing to put the work in to make the changes that they need to make, we're not going to be successful. So while the client, the potential client is interviewing me to see if they'd like to work with me, I'm also interviewing them to see like, are they really motivated on a scale of 0 to 10? Are they like a 9 or a 10? Because if so, then great. Absolutely. I can help them. I can take them on. So we start with lab testing first, and then it's based on those results. At FDN, we call it a DRESS protocol. So diet, rest, exercise, stress management, and then supplementation. And I hone in on all 5 of those areas. All of the pillars are equally important. I've already talked about that. I meet a client where they are. If, some clients want to go all in and make changes in all 5 areas all at once. Other clients are like, I'm busy. I've got a career and a family. So we start with one pillar at a time. I generally encourage them to, when they want to go that route, start with nutrition because you really can make the most difference with your nutrition and how you're fueling your body. But I let them tell me, like, what's the category that you feel like you need to start on or that you can start on and be the most successful. And then we layer in all the others.
Yeah, thank you for walking us through all that. It's fascinating. And you touched on a few very important points. So I want to ask, assuming that you guys are a good fit to work together and the motivation is there, what challenges can still come up through working together and from what you've seen with your own clients? How do you overcome those challenges or any advice that you have for people that maybe aren't seeing the results or maybe giving us some expectations around the time frame that you usually set for yourself and your clients as far as the results portion?
I would say, well, the number one problem that I have seen with clients is the struggle of financially investing in your health. So unfortunately, my services and the functional lab testing are not covered under insurance. Maybe one day, but it's not. Western medicine does not see that um, as a benefit, I guess you could say. So that is difficult for some people to understand that it really is a financial investment. Um, so I help clients overcome that hurdle in a couple of ways. There's a company called Advanced Care Credit that will do interest-free financing for those who qualify. And it's not even well, it is financing, but you aren't charged extra if you pay it off within that amount of time. And I also make payment plans, things like that for people. And so that's one thing. Another thing that I do is people will ask me to help them focus on just the lifestyle and nutrition and forego the functional lab testing, which you can be successful at attaining your health goals just with changing your lifestyle and nutrition as well. It becomes more of like starting with an umbrella of things to change until we can hone in on seeing what their body really starts responding to. But it's possible. And then I've also recently, I just started what I like to call a reset, which is a whole foods based detoxification for the body. because it's a really low price point, and it can help people like jumpstart changing their nutrition choices, which I'm really proud of. A lot of people don't understand that even if you are eating the cleanest diet, we still are exposed to so many environmental toxins, and it's a lot for our detoxification organs to deal with. And what happens is there's this backlog in the body of trying to deal with all those additional toxins and get them out of the body. um, and we just need to give our bodies a break once in a while so that that backlog can get taken care of. So this whole foods based reset, I like to call it a reset, like a reboot in your computer, reset in your body, is a really low price point to introduce people to a way to support your body and its healing, change some of your nutrition choices, be more mindful when you're eating, and sort of build on things from there.
Yeah, I love everything that you shared and have found very similar patterns in my own journey and in my clients' journey. So I'm curious, like, what's the minimum amount of time that you've seen where people can really start to make those sustainable changes and feel better? And what's the optimal time frame that you like to work with people?
Mm. So optimal is about 3 months. Um, I have seen changes start within the first week. People that really do take the nutrition changes to heart and implement them within the first week. So out of the gate, before I even get results of my clients' lab testing back, I tell my clients, and I tell them this in our discovery call interview of each other, that I'm going to ask you right out of the gate to eliminate gluten, dairy, sugar, and alcohol from your diet, even before we see what's going on with your food sensitivity testing or any of your lab testing, because those are so inflammatory to the body and majority of the time are part of the culprit of what's going wrong in the body and why the body is crying out for help. So when people do that, you start to see changes like so quickly, like within a week, which I think is really encouraging, because if that isn't what you're accustomed to, when someone tells you cut all these things out, which is part of the standard American diet, um, that's really like, whoa, what am I going to eat? How am I going to do this? So to be able to say like, oh, I kind of feel much better when I get up in the morning. I slept better. I don't have as many aches and pains when I crawl out of bed. That's very motivating to want to continue down that path and keep those things out of your life and focus on whole foods that, fresh, and nourishing to the body. So I would say that.
Love that. Yeah, and really, really good advice here, which is free. You heard it here for free. So you can try that and let us know. And I like to say, healing can be simple, but it's not easy, right? Like it's simple to say, cut these things out, but practically speaking, it could be quite difficult if your family shops that way and eats that way. And so you have to like really start getting nitty gritty with where this is showing up and how to overcome each of those hurdles which may come up if you go out to eat or if you go to a friend's house for dinner or your family get-togethers. It becomes like a thing that you have to sustain for yourself and have a way out of all these different situations because we don't live in a bubble or a vacuum. So we have to be able to stick to these decisions and these plans in different situations. And that's where it becomes nuanced. And that's where I feel like it's very helpful to have an accountability partner, a coach, somebody that can help you to really be accountable and celebrate yourself when things go well and then help you with challenges maybe when things get difficult. So Renee, I want to ask you one more question which I feel is important because we met by kind of inspiring each other, right, to take these steps. So when you see that other people are making these changes, right, which I think is a really great thing to be seeing, and even like with the Maha movement, where we see that people care about their health, people are willing to put in the work and make these changes. And as professionals who have chosen to go off, the beaten path and do something different, and we were pharmacists once and now we're more holistic. I think it's really cool to see all of these, different professionals, people who are on my show that have their own journeys and stories. And so I wonder, for people that are watching this, if you can give them some advice on their top two most challenging questions that I usually see from people, why they are reluctant to make changes, whether it's to a different, diet or to a different career path. So in our case, what advice would you have for other pharmacists or, people who are trained in conventional medicine that are wanting to move into the more holistic field, as far as the legalities and also the financial monetization aspect of doing something like this?
Mm. As far as legalities, I have totally separated those two hats. I do not have a pharmacist hat on at all when I am working with clients holistically. As a matter of fact, when I finished my certification program with FDN and I went to set up my lab accounts with labs and accounts with supplement companies, I could have used my pharmacist license to get those accounts set up, but I did not. I used my FDN certification because I knew that it was very, very important to keep them separate. There probably is a way or will be a way in the future where there's room for a pharmacist to work holistically. And I still maintain my pharmacist license because I do hope that someday in the future, and it's when I can see it, that the two will collide and mesh and that there will be this special place for people like us. So my advice is keep it separate. If you are working as a pharmacist, and you can introduce lifestyle and nutrition recommendations to your patients that are coming in, with symptoms and complaints and asking for your advice, absolutely. Like, why wouldn't we encourage nutrition and lifestyle changes? But from on the other side, as the holistic practitioner, I don't let my pharmacist knowledge or hat come in at all. I just keep them separated. And I forgot part two of your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for that answer, and that's a really black and white answer that I think is the most conservative approach that we can have right now until, like you said, maybe the laws will change and the scope of practice might change, but that's really the safest bet right now. And I completely agree with you there. And then number two was the monetization aspect, right? Like, you walked away from a really high paycheck, right, and a great career. So how are you getting a return on your investment now that you are switching gears and becoming a more holistic business practitioner?
Mhm. I would say yes, I am starting to get a return on investment. It took me a little while to really dive into my and like get my business up and off the ground. It was just like 4 or 5 months ago that I decided, okay, it's time. Um, and there were several reasons for that. Like, I think part of me was still mentally transitioning from you walked away from this to are you sure you know what you're doing? Can you really be an entrepreneur? Do you really have what it takes? All that stuff that I think many people go through when you jump into being a small business owner or an entrepreneur. So yes, I am starting to get a return on my investment. And I see a really bright future. I see a lot on the horizon, which is very exciting. I was also fortunate to join a women's connecting networking group that's local here to me, where it's actually available all over the United States. It's called the Polka Dot Powerhouse. And that community of small business owners, women in particular, has just been so inspiring and um, just energetic for me to really move me forward in putting myself out there and letting what I do be known, because there's people out there that need help and that are looking for help, and we're right for each other. We just have to find each other.
Yes, yes, I love everything that you're sharing. And everybody take notes, listen to this podcast. There's some really great gold nuggets in here. And I so appreciate your candor and your willingness to share so openly about the journey. And I really resonate so much with what you're saying. And I think just to put it into perspective about the return on investment, a salary is really great, and it doesn't have the headache of like running your own business. And the other side of the coin is your business can be anything that you want it to be, and you can like turn the dial up or down, and it has a lot of potential, where it wouldn't translate to you moving up in the ranks potentially as a pharmacist in a traditional job. Whereas in a business, you can really accomplish so much with the same amount of like time and effort once you have the foundation set up. So it's definitely a different way of earning money, and it can definitely take some time to kind of get used to it. But I feel like there's just so much more potential and opportunities for the right person and the right mindset. So it's not for everyone, but it could be very, very lucrative. And I think what you're doing is just amazing. And I love seeing your post online. So this hour has flown by. I was hoping to keep it shorter, but if you have just one more minute, I'd love to do a rapid round with you.
Sure.
All right. So question one is, what would you say to somebody to improve their quality of life right now?
Right now, I would say nutrition, like stop eating processed foods. If there's only one thing that you could do, stop eating processed foods. Focus on whole, fresh foods. If it doesn't have to have a label on it with ingredients, like be attracted to those foods.
Love that. Okay, question two. Looking over your journey as we did right now, would you change anything? And if there's one thing you can change, what would it be?
Well, that's a hard one. I say that's a hard one because part of me definitely feels like you have to go through your own process and your own journey to get to where it is you're meant to be. Um, if I had to pick what would I change, it would be that I gotten out of my career a little bit sooner so that I didn't have to deal with as many health issues. Um, and I wished I would have embraced being an entrepreneur sooner, been ready for that sooner, found this awesome women's networking group sooner.
Yeah, I love that as well. And then let's do a fun one. So, what's a favorite hobby or maybe a fun fact or surprising fact about yourself?
Oh, okay. Surprising fact about me. I am a huge football fan. So, in our household, if I wasn't watching football or knew when games were coming on and telling my husband, he would not be watching. And I think in most relationship, it's the husband that's a football fan, but I just love it. In the growing up in Louisiana in the South, like football is a big deal. So I still cheer on my LSU Tigers from Baton Rouge. Not having the best season this year, but that's okay. And I still cheer on the New Orleans Saints from back home, and then also now the Denver Broncos since we're here in Colorado. So that's a
Love
fun
it.
fact that people probably wouldn't expect.
Shout out to all the football teams and fans out there, everybody.
Yeah.
Cool. So again, thank you so much for coming on here, Renee, and sharing so much amazing wisdom with us about your own health journey and your professional journey with us. And I'd love for you to tell our audience how they can get in touch with you and learn more from you.
Awesome. Well, it's absolutely been my pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. I'm really excited that I got to do this with you. So you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Wellness RX Integrative Health, my business name. I'm in the process of automating my business, and my website is under construction right now. So in the future, hopefully soon, I'll have a website. But you can also email me. It's my email is wellnessrxintegrativehealth@gmail.com. So any of those avenues, you can get me, and I would love to hear from anyone out there if any of this resonated with you, whether it's to potentially be a client or just, you know, you need an ear, someone's ear to listen to you because maybe you're going through some of the same things and having to make some of the same hard decisions that I did.
Yeah, I love that. I think what you said about readiness is so profound. And I think, we sometimes can't speed that process up as much as we want to, and as much as, our logical mind is like screaming us, to hurry up and get ready. It is a process. And so we just learn to trust that journey and become ready when we're ready. And so I am so happy to have you again on this show. And I will have all of that information on how to get in touch with you in the show notes. And you also have a little gift for the audience. So everybody can download Renee's guide that I'll be sharing, which is like how she went from being stressed out and how you can really just take, I think, is it 5 steps or 7 steps to
Seven,
de-stress.
yeah, yes, 7 strategies to shed the stress and embrace peace.
Exactly. So she's sharing all that with you. So that will be in the show notes as well. So thank you again for coming on. And I will be seeing you online. Bye, Renee.
Yes. Bye bye. Thank you.